Hello, and welcome to the Small Print Podcast with me. I'm Elise from Roulette Reader.
I'm Dawn from Bang Bang Books.
And today we are going to be kind of beginning to wrap up the year of 2015 by sharing our top 10 YA books, obviously, of this year.
Mhm.
So we'll be starting with 10 and going to 1. 1 is our best. So stay tuned to see which book we choose as number 1.
Okay, so before we begin, I'm just going to define some terms that you'll hear us say. And one of them is the Printz Award, Printz, and that is the award given out by ALA, which is the American Library Association, and its teen department, YALSA. It's given out to the most outstanding YA book of the year. It's given at ALA Midwinter at the end of January. I think this year it's the beginning of February. So yeah, you'll hear me say that, and you might hear us say mock prints. And the mock prints is when librarians and library workers all over the world get together and try to predict what the Printz Award's going to go to, or we make our own. So without further ado, let's start. So I'm 1st.
Mhm.
So my number 10 is The Walls Around Us by Anova Sansuma, and it is a magical realism book. It is fantastic. I just read it this week for my mock prints group. I was not going to read it because of the low rating on Goodreads, but I decided to, I had to read it so that I could talk about it with all the other librarians. And I'm glad I did because it's really, really good. It's one of those books that you need to read with somebody else or have someone read it after you or something so that you can talk about it. Otherwise, you're just like, what did I just read? And no one can talk about it with you. So I'm trying to make Elise read it now, but
I'll get to it. It's my goal.
Does that mean next year? Or?
Means probably at the end of the week. I need to finish another book first.
Okay.
Which is also on the mock prints list.
Yeah. All right. So it's a great book. It's a great discussion book, and you'll be trying to figure it out for days. So
I love it when books do that.
Yeah.
They don't give it all to you right there. You have to.
It's one of those
weird
YAs.
Right. All right. So my number 10 is Legacy of Kings by Eleanor Herman.
Boo.
I knew she was going to do that. This was not one that Dawn liked, but this was one that I liked because of the genre that it fits into, which is historical fantasy. Love history, love fantasy genre, so this was like my perfect book. It follows Alexander the Great, who is 16 years old at this point, and he's right on the brink of discovering that he is Macedonia's next great leader. So I really liked it because I didn't know a lot about Alexander the Great, and it kind of set the scene for this really great epic historical fantasy series that I think Eleanor is going to come out with. She, by trade, is a historian, so I felt that the book was very deep, fact-wise. I mean, I really just like picking apart the plot and the culture of the book, which she really made come alive. So another reason that I really like this book is because the villain. If a book has a good villain, I am hooked and generally will end up liking the book overall. I don't know, this thing with villains. Her name's Olympia. She's Alexander's mother, and she has this thing with Snake. It's really creepy. It's really weird. So I look forward to see where her journey goes as well. So that was Legacy of Kings by Eleanor Herman. Sorry.
I'm not interested in that journey. That probably would have been on my worst list.
Yeah, I think you gave it like a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were not a fan.
Okay, my number 9 is The Rose Society by Marie Lu, which is book 2 in the Young Elite series. I was not going to read this book because I did not like book 1, but I like the Legend series, and sometimes book 2s they're better than book 1s, which is not usually the case for movies. I feel like movie 2s are horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided to read it anyway, and then as I was ending the book, I realized that, the reason why I didn't like book 1 is I didn't like the protagonist, Adelina. But then I realized that she's a supervillain, and so you're not supposed to like her, which is a risk because the protagonist is also the antagonist, which is, I don't think I've ever read that before.
Yeah, that's cool.
So what I really liked about this book is her world building is really good, and she's got great characters, and as I said before, the protagonist is also the antagonist. So I'm curious to see what she's going to do with that character.
Mm-hmm.
Is she going to make her redeemable, or is she just going to let her defeat herself? I don't know. I'll see.
Okay.
It was really good.
Random. Okay, my number 9 is The Winner's Crime by Marie Rutkowski. Rutkowski. This book picks up where it left off from The Winter's Crime. So Kestrel is engaged to the Crown Prince of Valoria, but her engagement is not a happy time for her because she's engaged for a specific reason and she cannot tell the person why, and it's just very convoluted. I won't go into the plot too much unless you've read it, but again, it's a fantasy novel. I love the character of Kestrel. I think she's a really strong female protagonist. It is fantasy. And one thing I loved about this series is that the world building is extremely unique. Again, Rutkowski really brings through the culture that she has thrown her characters into. And I love the love interest, I guess, is what you can say that he is. He's incredible. He's a really, really, really compelling love interest. You know, sometimes main characters, they fall in love with these people and you're like, no, I don't see it. But I do with her and Arin. So, all right, that's my number 9.
All right, I think we swapped our 8s and 7s. My number 8 is Heart of Betrayal by Mary E. Pearson, which is book 2 from the Remnant Chronicles. And this is probably my favorite series from the last 5 years. It might be tied with the Raven Cycle, but I love this series. And I love it because of the world building. She has her own new world, and it's always these little Easter eggs that you don't know about. They keep popping up, and once again, this is one of those books that you have to read with other people because they find things that you missed, and you're like, you know, what does this tattoo mean, and where is this location, and who are those voices coming from, and who's the dragon? and I don't think we're ever going to get all the answers unless we like strap Mary down and be like, look,
tell us all right now.
So yeah, this book is great.
It is.
So I highly recommend this series if you haven't started it. Heart of Betrayal by Mary E. Pearson.
I really recommend it as well. In fact, it is my number 8. Basically for all the reasons that Dawn just said. I mean, again, the world building is stunning. I was going to say something else about that, but I totally forgot. Yeah, completely dropped my train of thought here. No, it's a really good series if you are into fantasy, kind of epic fantasy things. So, Heart Betrayal, Mary E. Pearson.
So my number 7 is Winter's Crime.
Okay.
And much of the reasons what you said, why you liked it, but I'm going to expound on Kestrel, the main character. I think she's the main reason why I love this book because since Hunger Games, I feel like all the main characters, the heroines, have to be like butt kickers, like extreme butt kickers. But Kestrel is more of Hermione. She outwits everyone. Her father is like the captain of the army or the general or whatever, and she takes like combat lessons, but she's horrible and she doesn't pretend to be good, but she seems to outwit everyone, and it's completely believable. And she's got such a strong wit. There's a couple of lines where I had to laugh out loud because she's hilarious. And also the love interest with her and Arin, I love that. And I used to work the reference desk. I don't anymore, but I was reading this book on the reference desk. And if you read the book, you know the end is quite a cliffhanger.
In every book of the series.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But this one is even more. And I'm reading it at the very end, and I'm like gasping and like, no, and crying, and just a hot mess at the reference desk. I know those poor patrons are probably trying to figure out what's wrong with me.
That woman needs help.
But I couldn't wait to go home. I had to hurry up and read it. So I had to read it on the desk. But yeah, I love it. It's good. So if you haven't started it, pick it up.
Indeed. Okay. My number 7 is Bone Gap by Laura Ruby.
Really?
There's a lot to say about this book.
7?
7, yeah. Not my top 5,
Clearly.
but definitely one of my top 10. We went and saw this author a couple months ago at a bookshop, kind of in our general area, and I felt like I didn't fully appreciate the book until I kind of went to her author speaking thing.
Yeah.
Author explain a little bit more about her inspiration for the book and things like that. And at that point, things started to make more sense for me. Bone Gap is a book that you have to take your time with and read between the lines. Do not read this book if you're distracted. Don't read this book if you you kind of just want something to read on the drive or the train home or something like that. Obviously not when you're driving. But there's a lot going on with this book. I thought it was beautiful and extremely creepy, and it's magical realism, which totally threw me. I was not prepared for that. So when
this was my first magical realism
yeah,
I've ever read.
I think it was mine as well. Yeah, that was paired with contemporary fiction, definitely. But towards the end of the book, things really start to come together, and she clarifies a lot of things, and you realize there's just like lots of light bulb moments.
Yeah.
But you have to get through kind of the meat of the plot where you're like, what in the world is going on?
Mm-hmm.
The main character is great. I cannot remember his name.
Finn,
thank you. Read this book months ago. We read a lot. So Finn is kind of loopy in the head. He's not really all there, and you know that there's a reason for that, but it's never fully explained. He's got this kind of tortured relationship with his brother, and then there's this mysterious girl that comes to town who eventually disappears, and he is disturbed because no one seems to be concerned with trying to find her. And so he takes it upon himself to kind of figure out what's going on. And that whole journey is really creepy and beautiful and kind of heartbreaking at times as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely recommend this if you like something out of the ordinary, and just want a compelling contemporary fiction novel with a little bit of a twist.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, my number 6 is Challenger Deep by Neal Shusterman, and I do think this will be a Prince contender. I would like to go on record to say that I chose this book as one of the underrated YA books a week before it won the NBA award. So that means I am on top of it, people. You need to listen to me.
Let's all give her a little round of applause.
Yay! So this book is great, and it is realistic fiction with a little fantasy, and it's kind of heartbreaking, and it's beautiful, and Elise couldn't finish it because I have no words.
There's so many reasons. It's another one of those books that you have to absolutely pay attention to. And I kept picking up and reading it when I was either out of the house or just places that I would get distracted. And it finally got to the point where, like, why am I continuing to fight with this book? I'm just going to DNF it. So maybe I'll pick it up again later. But I totally understand why it is a good book. I really do. I was enjoying it up until I just couldn't anymore. Yeah, I know.
All right. So, yeah. Challenger Deep. That's all I'll say. Read it.
That's it? That's all you're going to say?
Well, I mean, I kind of talked about it already.
I will give you a little bit more of a reason to read this. When you kind of get through I'm glad that you had that book following Bone Gap, because they're both kind of psychological books. One for more of an obvious reason than the other. But there's a huge twist with Challenger Deep that I don't think really the average reader is ready for, or not even ready for, but expecting. And so when you realize that, it's like, oh, and then you're really able to grasp the weirdness of the plot and of the main character. And I've never really seen this done before. So I think Neal Shusterman had an incredibly original idea. And it's kind of, again, this whole movement in YA to kind of help teens recognize mental illness and like either find help or realize, you're not alone. Books are a place where you can go to find understanding and support and things like that. So, I mean, the book is great. It really is. It's worthwhile. It has a place in YA that I think is very important. So I can totally see why it won the National Book Award.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is a Prince contender.
Yeah. I don't think the National Book Award winner has ever won the Prince. So
we'll see.
I don't know how they do that, but maybe it'll be an honoree.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 5.
Wait, 6.
6? You're on 6.
I have to do my 6.
My bad.
Sorry. Okay, my number 6 was not one that I would have expected to have on my top 10. It's Daughters into Devils.
Oh, okay.
By Amy Lukavics. You're like, oh, okay. We have very differing opinions on a lot of books, so that's what that was about. So Amy Lukavics is a debut author, which I always find incredibly impressive when an author releases something that is actually phenomenal. I'm not a horror fan at all. Don't enjoy being scared. Don't enjoy creeping myself out to an extent, but not really. So we read this book in preparation for a Skype visit that we were going to have with her in October as part of our Scream and Skype series. And I'm really glad I did because it is unbelievably creepy. It's very different. It's kind of like Little House on the Prairie meets just
You
absolute
said,
horror, like Stephen King.
Yeah. Shining?
Yeah, The Shining. No, well, not
No,
necessarily.
Not that one. No, I'm thinking of a different one.
Kind of, in that family members go crazy.
Yeah.
That's a good comparison, but minus the whole hotel thing.
Yeah.
It's about a family, specifically about a girl. Why can I never remember characters' first
Amanda?
names? Amanda, yeah.
I'm usually the one who can't remember anybody's name.
I'm good with names. I don't know. I'm off my name game today. Anyway, Amanda has just come through a very difficult winter. Again, we're not really sure of the time period, but it's kind of implied that it's like early 1800s. And she has just experienced cabin fever. And while she experienced cabin fever, her mom gave birth to a child that is deaf and dumb. And so Amanda not only has to deal with her faltering sanity, but also the fact that they all now have to deal with this child that is going to be incredibly difficult to raise. And Amanda is racked with guilt because she and her sister, Emily, I believe her name is, their relationship has changed, and Amanda kind of feels like her family's afraid of her. In addition to all of that, she's been sneaking off to the woods to have relations. Could that get any more awkward? With the post boy, whose name, again, I cannot remember. Is he even named?
Henry.
Oh my god.
Duh.
Jeez, I cannot today. Anyway, Henry's the hot post boy from town, and she's been getting it on with him in the woods, which is a huge no-no in this time period, apparently. And she ends up getting pregnant. So now she has to hide yet another secret from her sister and from her family. And then they become determined. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot.
This is the person who said, I don't talk that much.
I know. I'll wrap it up really quickly. They have to move out of the mountain because they don't want to experience another winter like they did last year. So they get to the prairie, and then shit really starts to go down, and it's just really bad. So the ending was horrific, very shocking, was not expecting any of that. If you like horror, read this. It will creep you out.
Okay. Number 5. Number 5, Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas.
Really? 5?
Sorry.
Dang.
7
I
for
did like
Volga.
this book more than you did, though.
I don't think you. No, I gave it a. What, did I give it a 5?
I give it a 5.
I may have given it a 4.5. I don't know. Anyway, it is my number 5, and I really enjoyed this far more than the other 3. I think Maas has grown as a writer tremendously, and it's really exciting to see her grow from book 1 to now. And I love Selena, and I also love how every male in the book loves her, and that could go wrong in so many ways as far as the writing is concerned, but I think Maas did a good job of not making it so eye-rolly. So I appreciated that, and I loved all the characters. Maybe not Lysandra so much, but other than that,
I love Lysandra.
Maybe I don't. Okay, I almost spoiled it. Never mind. But yeah, her character arc, I kind of didn't like how that.
It could have been better.
And I don't like who they paired her with.
Lysandra? Seriously? Dude, I'm so all about that. I ship all of the relationships in this book.
And how do you pronounce the main witch's name?
Manon?
It's not. I think it's Manon. I saw her on some kind of like YouTube video, and she was saying Manon, I think.
Manon.
Yeah.
Well, that name is to be determined, but I say Manon. She is my favorite character. I almost like her more than Aelin.
Oh no, never. Oh, we're about to get into.
Hold on, we always have this happen.
Can you reprint that with the correct web address?
Yeah.
Down.
Can we do it there? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Continue about Manon.
Sorry. All right, sorry.
Every week we get interrupted, so this is like our
and there's
running
a sign
joke.
on the door that
Yeah,
says
it's
we're
okay.
recording.
Whatever.
Oh my god. Okay,
Court of Thorns and Queen of Shadows.
I'm done.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my number 5 is another Sarah J. Maas book. It's The Court
Her
of
last
Thorns
name
and
is
Roses.
Mass.
Yes, I know. I always mispronounce her name. Maas? I guess I assume that the two A's are like long. Anyway, Sarah J. Maas, Court of Thorns and Roses. It's the first book in her new series. I don't remember what the series is called, but basically it's a Beauty and the Beast kind of reimagining, which is right up my alley. That is my favorite Disney movie, favorite like old time classic fairy tale. I just love the relationship that the Belle character is supposed to have with the Beast character. And this book puts a lot more power in the hands of the female protagonist. So Feyre, I think is how you pronounce her name. Yet another name that we're not sure how to pronounce.
I think it's Feyre.
I think it's Feyre too. She accidentally kills this magical creature in the woods and has to basically provide restitution for his life. So this Fae Tamlin comes to find her, takes her back to his mythical, but not so mythical land, and basically she has to serve out this life sentence. Long story short, they end up falling in love, but in a very as you say, non-eye rolly way. And it's not even really apparent until the end of the book that they do love each other. So I thought that was really cool. Did I just spoil it? I don't think so. It's kind of implied. There's a lot that goes on in this book. Also, again, the villains are great. I didn't write a review for this one, so I'm running a little. Oh, Rysand. Rysand?
I said Reese.
Reese.
I always say
Yeah,
names wrong. So.
Rysand. Well, John Rhys Davies. That's how you pronounce his name. Rysand. Okay. I love him.
Yeah.
I know he's a villain. He's a bad guy, but he's kind of not.
Yeah.
But he kind of is.
I like him better than Tamlin. I don't like Tamlin.
I like them equally, but for different reasons. But at this point, I would be okay with whoever she ends up, but I think it's pretty obvious who she's going to end up with. Anyway, it's a really good one if you kind of just are looking for your average everyday fantasy that is really well written.
All right. Number 4, An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. And I really like this book because it's not predictable. I thought it was going to go one way, and then it totally didn't, and I appreciate that because we've all kind of read the same stuff over and over, and it gets kind of repetitive. So, yeah, I like that. And I also liked the Commandant, which is the villain. I think this is probably the best villain I've ever read.
Absolutely.
In a book. She hates everybody, and she beats everybody, including her own kid. She's horrible. She's a horrible, horrible person, and I love it. So, yeah, that's why. Those are the reasons why I like Ember in the Ashes.
Indeed. Ember in the Ashes is my number 4 as well. I found that interesting that we both chose that as number 4.
I thought it was gonna be higher on your list.
No, there were some other books that I read that kind of trumped it a little bit, but yeah, pretty much same reason. Loved the villain, and the Commandant is insane. The twists in this book were great. I love when a book pulls something out of nowhere, but not from nowhere, so it made sense. What happened made sense, and it wasn't like, wait, what? That was convenient. There's really nothing else to say about that. I mean,
yeah,
characters are great. You can understand their all of their motivations, even the villain, and that is something I really need in a book. If I cannot understand the main character's motivation or like drive behind their actions, I'm just not into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let you go with your number 3.
All right, number 3 is More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. I think this will be a Prince contender. I'm crossing my fingers that it'll win. I don't think it will, but hopefully it'll be an honoree.
It's on the mock Prince list though that we're doing. So
yeah,
I
but
mean,
our
people
last year's mock Prince.
That's true. It was nowhere near.
No,
but people are talking about it. That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like this book because he blends science fiction effectively into a reoccurring theme of LGBTQ and who I am and all of that. And he's a debut, and he's quite an insightful writer for someone, and he's only like 23, 24. I don't think he's over 25 years old. He's young. And now she has to look it up.
I'm like, I'm 25. There's no way this guy is younger than me.
He's young. He's very young. So yeah, he's a great writer, and we met him
a couple months ago.
Yeah, and he's awesome. I think I've met over 70 authors. He's probably the best author.
I am very hesitant to approach authors and like gush over their books, but he was extremely approachable. Really was thankful that at the time only Dawn had read his book. I'm in the middle of reading it right now. And so he was just very open and welcoming and really seemed to care about like, what's your story? Who are you? You know, he wasn't awkward at all. And that was, I've not ever encountered that with an author.
I had not planned on having a 15-minute conversation with this man. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
just going to go up to him and say, oh, I really loved your book. I'm going to see you. Because he just happened to show up at a Julie Murphy visit. And we weren't expecting to see him there because he was going to be at the next event the following day. And so I was just going to go up to him and say, you know, I don't want to bother anybody.
Right,
Like, hi,
sure.
you know, loved your book. Bye. That's all I was going
Right.
to say. And then he was 20 minutes. I was like, okay. And then Elise is off in the corner. I'm like, come over here. Talk to us.
I guess I can say that I'm equally awkward. So yeah, no, he was a good time to talk to. You, very funny, and now that I've like met him and I'm starting to read his book, you could totally tell that that's his voice. Yeah.
So anyway, that was
All
number
right.
3. More Happy Than Not by
Indeed.
Silvera. Pick it up, it's good.
Okay. Bam, bam, bam. My number 3 is Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Groden. That is a 2015 book, right? That came out last month. Yeah. Okay. Whew, I scared myself there for a second. This book is speculative historical fiction, which I had never read before. Basically asks, I know we did a review on this a couple months ago, so if you're interested in a more in-depth version of this book, definitely go back and watch that, or listen to it rather. It basically puts you in a world where Hitler is still alive and he has won the war and is now got free reign to do whatever he wants. And Yael, that's how I say her name, Yael, the main character, she was a young child who was in the Jewish concentration camps. And I won't spoil too much about her journey, but she ends up escaping and works for this kind of secret agency that's attempting to take down Hitler. And there's only one way to do it, and she fits the profile. So she has to basically go on this motorcycle race across the empire of Germany and Japan. And at that point, she will be able to meet Hitler and carry out the assassination attempt. The book goes into a little bit about the Valkyrie, so how an attempt on Hitler's life had already failed, and if that happens again, it's all over, because Hitler already knows that people want him dead and was just completely, in this book anyway, was completely surrounding himself by Secret Service and things like that. So this book had a major twist at the end. Oh my goodness.
Don't tell people there's a twist.
I'm sorry, but there is. It's like you just can't.
That.
Why? I love it.
Because then I'm looking for the twist the whole time.
I'm already looking for the twist.
Not me.
When I read, I'm already trying to pick out okay, which way is this book going to go? I'm thinking of all of the possibilities of the endings in my mind as I'm reading a book. So if I know that there's a twist, if I hear a book recommendation, oh, watch for the twist, I'll be like, yes.
Oh, no, I hate that.
I love it. So I'm sorry for whoever also hates when people say that they like twists. But anyway, it does. It's a great book. You learn so much about World War II and just, that's a terrifying thought, what if? So really, really, really recommend this book by Ryan Groden. It's called Wolf by Wolf.
All right, number 2. We're getting down to it here. My number 2 is Bone Gap, and I think that was your number
7.
Why do you make that face?
It's definitely not number 2, but
What?
I'm surprised Challenger Deep wasn't further up on your list.
No. I can't believe. I thought Bone Gap was your number 1 for a long time.
What?
Oh,
No.
sorry. Well, it was my number 1 for
No,
a very,
girl, no,
very
girl.
long time. I had this arc since January. I got it at Midwinter, and I wasn't going to read it because that cover is horrible.
I like
So I
the
was like,
cover.
I'm not going to read this book. But then Aubrey from Epic Reads kept talking about it,
Mhm.
but I still wasn't sure because she liked The Girl of Fire and Thorns, which is a horrible book. So I wasn't sure if I was going to trust her taste, but I read it anyway, and it's good. So you kind of talked about it already, but I liked it because it's one of those what the heck did I just read books. And like you said before, this is my first time reading magical realism, and it's one of those books that you can just sit for hours and what does the bee mean and who is she representing, and even weeks after we were like, oh, how did I miss that? I like it when you have a book that you can really talk about and it's not put in your face point by point. I hate that. So this is a very good book. I suggest you read it with other people so you can talk about it.
Yeah. This is a great book club discussion book.
It is.
There's so much to pull apart.
There's a lot to talk about. Which we did read it for our Forever Young Adult book club, which is adults who read YA.
And our teen book
they
club.
loved it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Both our teen book clubs and our Forever Young Adult.
Which I'm not gonna lie, I was surprised that our teens were really into that book.
I thought it would have been over their head a little bit.
Yeah, so,
So I was
I
a
mean,
little
it kind of
scared.
was over mine.
Yeah.
If you just read this book, you're like, no, not for me. But then when you go back and really begin to try to understand the book, you will.
I think maybe teens have more of an open mind,
Yeah.
and adults tend to be like, nope, that's not what I like. I like this, and that's what's
Absolutely.
going to be. But teens are like, they're kind of open.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
agree with you.
this book was on the short list for the NBA. So I'm thinking it's a Prince contender. It's really, really good.
Mhm.
So if you have not read it, don't go by that cover. It's terrible. But yeah, that's Bone Gap by Laura Ruby.
Mhm. All right, my number 2 was Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. Yep.
Me too.
I love this book. I mispronounced her last name again. I'm sorry. Dawn pretty much went into it. Aelin is an incredible character.
That's a spoiler.
What?
I don't know. I called her Selena just for the
No,
sake of
they've called her Aelin since the third book. She's no longer referred to as Selena.
I know, but I wasn't going to spoil it for the people.
But really, most people have gotten to Heir of Fire.
You don't know
Most people.
that? Sorry when we have our discussion.
We'd love to hear what you call her. Do you call her Aelin or do you call her Selena? I call her Aelin because that's how they've referred to her since she kind of went away to really tap into this other side of her
I
character.
call her Aelin, but for the sake of the podcast, I was calling her Selena.
Yeah.
For those who are still on book 1.
Right, but like even if they're on book 1,
They're going to be
if-
confused when you say Aelin and they haven't read that
well,
far.
even if they're on book 1, Goodreads calls her Aelin, so it's
Not
not
in
a
book
spoiler.
1.
In book, I'm saying like they're looking ahead to the next
don't know
books.
that.
Whatever. We're not
This
gonna
is
argue
us
about
all
her
day.
name.
This is us every day.
I call her Aelin. She goes to such a length in the book to say I'm not Selena anymore. That's not who I am. So I guess I just have like knocked it in my head that she's no longer Selena. Sorry for anyone if that's a spoiler. I think that's a little ridiculous,
It's not.
seeing as the book is several years old.
Some people are still on book 1.
I understand that, but I am not. So
So screw everybody else.
okay. Yeah, there's not really anything else to say about that. She kind of, I think the character of Aelin, Selena, is really coming into her own in this book. She really struggled as a character in Heir of Fire. So that book was a little difficult for me. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like where the series was headed, but she now is more strong in who she is and who she has to become. I think she's accepted it now. So I found just like good. We're moving forward with the plot, whereas Heir of Fire, I was kind of like, oh god, do I want to keep reading this? There's a lot of back and forth. One of my favorite characters though is Manon. Again, Manon maybe it's like got a French pronunciation, which I wouldn't doubt. She is amazing. Loved her in Heir of Fire. Loved her even more in this book
I
because
felt like she was a bit of a. I wanted her to get from under her grandmother. I guess I can see the loyalty, but people are like, "Listen to yourself. What are you doing to the other witches?"
Yeah.
I kind of was
yeah,
like,
it took her. It took her a while. It took
Yeah.
her a while to really. But I can understand because I mean, really, if you write a character who, from the day they're born, has been beaten and broken into being nothing but loyal to your head witch, that's not going to change in a couple months. I can understand why she was so hesitant to go against the words of her grandmother and how she couldn't believe the betrayal, which we won't go into because that's a spoiler. But her character arc in this fourth book is incredible, and I'm really, really, really excited to see kind of where she ends up. Although I'm kind of beginning to call it a little bit, but she's my favorite character. I almost like her a little bit more than Aelin, to be honest with you. So, all right, and then we both have the same book for number 1, so I guess we will go ahead
Drum
and
roll, please.
And number 1 of 2015 is Six of
Crows
Crows by Leigh Bardugo. There's so much to say about this book. There really is. As you've said about Sarah J. Maas, Leigh has also grown as a writer, and that is incredibly evident in this book. Not only is the plot more fleshed out, the characters are very fleshed out, and it made reading it so lovely.
Yeah, it was like a movie almost.
Yes.
It's like,
Very vivid. Oh, I
could
apologize
see
for that. Her character, you love every single one of them in a different way. Of course, you have your favorites, as I do. I have a couple favorites. We're going to say who our favorite characters are.
Cass and Inej.
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 Inej. I also like Matthias, but not quite as much as the other two. But I love Inej because I felt like her character kind of came through into her own by the end of the book, whereas we're still growing with the other characters. So I cannot wait for the rest of this series. Like this book blew my mind. I've been recommending it to everyone that I meet, but it's basically I hate doing this, but it really saves time.
Who is it? Is it Ocean's 52?
Yes,
meets
it's like Ocean's
Harry
11
Met Sally?
meets the Grisha universe. I know, and I again, I apologize. I hate it when publishers do that, but I understand why. It saves a lot of time. It does really sum up the book, to be honest with you. They have to go on a heist for a lot of money to capture something that is very dangerous for them, for some of them, and for the Grisha world at large. So there's a lot riding on their success and a lot riding on their failure, and I thought it was it was gripping. Like, I could not put this book down.
It was good.
Yeah.
I was a little nervous because I kind of did not like how Shadow and Bone ended.
I didn't either. I didn't finish the series. I got bored.
Yeah, I was a little worried.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad I read it. It was really good.
Highly recommended.
Yeah.
Definitely read it if you have not. It's Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo.
All right, so that is our top 10. Do we want to go through again or just no? People will get it. We'll just put it in the
Yeah, we're going to put a list in the description.
All right, so our next podcast will be December 14th, and we're going to talk about what we are excited for
2016. For spring 2016.
Is that considered spring if it's January, February? I guess so.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so join us December 14th. We will see you then. Bye.